you mentioned that just the job that you were doing was not conducive to your success. You're going through the
Yes.
through your four, and it was not fully conducive to your success. I mean, as someone, because again, we both get it. We
Mm-hmm.
both worked that morning shift before. We've both done that. I don't know how you did it as long as you did. I barely got through a year to couple 3 years of it myself before I was just mentally fried. But I don't know how you did it. But now that you're out of it, it's become a lot more conducive to your success. And that's
Yes.
maybe the most important thing here is now it's kind of built. Since you've been gone, oh, sounds like the song there. Since you since
Okay,
you
Kelly Clarkson.
since you've been gone, exactly. You can breathe for the first time, for I understand. But
Right.
it's like since you've been gone from TV,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to name any names, obviously, but have you heard from some of the people at CBS or even from the other stations who, because you were very well known and very well liked by everyone, anybody who wouldn't like you, but you were very
Thanks.
well liked by everyone. What's been the response from your fellow former TV newsers to some of this and seeing where you've gone?
Thankfully, it's been pretty supportive. I have heard from a handful of people from other stations that I never worked with, and got overwhelming support. No one ever gave me grief over it. I would like to think that if anybody did have grief, they're never going to tell me about it because I don't want to know. I don't care. But no, the people that understand that they get it, they've been through the schedule like we have, they know what a grind it can be. Um, they were very supportive, and I have heard relatively regularly from a handful of them. But again, this is a business just like anything else that is for some and not for others. And even though I think that I'm kind of a natural at this broadcasting thing, that particular gig just wasn't my wheelhouse, for all of these reasons that we've discussed. And at the time when I was really just going into that depressive slump and spiraling to that low, for whatever reason, I could not wrap my head around the idea that anybody with a communications and a meteorology degree could do anything other than be a TV meteorologist. And I really thought that I was doomed to be stuck in these kinds of really rough schedules for perpetuity. Um, it wasn't until I really looked hard at my skill set, what I'm good at, what I love about the process that, when I'm working, that I was able to understand that my idea of what I was capable of was so short sighted. And there was absolutely no reason on earth that I couldn't branch out into any other field and be able to monetize it and succeed at it. And because I'm a control freak, I knew I needed to do it on my own. So.
Do it yourself is not just simply, it's not a YouTube channel, it's a way of life for you.
It is. And I have to give you credit. Originally when we did that first podcast, my title of my book was going to be My Happy Place: How I Became the Hero of My Own Story, which is true. But you, I think, were the first person that said to me, you DIY'd it. Like, you DIY'd your life. And I'm like, oh my
You
God,
did.
I did. And it's like all of a sudden it came together. It's like it organically clicked for me that, holy crap, I I love DIY from the crafting and design and home sense, but what I'm doing here really is like a DIY project, the ultimate DIY project to work on myself and create the best existence for myself. And that's how I ended up actually settling. I never told you that. So that's how I settled on that title.
Well, I certainly appreciate that.
And
I
you do
try.
get a shout out in the book. It's worthy of a
I
mention.
was going to bring that up. So in the book, you have a bunch of different quotes, some really profound things from different people that start off some of the chapters, and they're kind of
Mhm.
interspersed along there. And somewhere along the way, you pulled up this quote from this dude who was doing a podcast in
Mhm.
2017, and of all things, going off on some screed against some football team in Detroit. And I let
That will not be named, but we
and
all know.
happen the team that shall not be named that wears Honolulu blue and silver. That the guy let rip with a phrase just almost like a non sequitur, saying, "quote Hope is not a goddamn strategy."
Yeah,
And as
right there.
she's pulling up like
Yeah.
the picture, there it is right there. Hope is not a goddamn
Yeah.
strategy, and it's
It's
like When I said that, for the newcomers to this show, you'll have to go back a ways. This was January 2017. When I said that, I was so angry and so frustrated with them because at that point I'd invested 28, what is now will be 30 years of my life being a fan of this friggin' team. And when I said it just out of frustration, but then I went back and heard it, and I just started thinking, Jesus, that actually is very profound because
Look at me. Yeah.
it's a lot of ways of how I've just always approached things. It's that, yes, it's of course you got to have hope and you got to be able to be, you want to be hopeful and think that you can do this. And there's always the possibility and you want to push yourself. But it's like the older phrase of prayer without works is nothing. And hope without actual action. You can have all the hope in the world, but you're not doing anything. You're going to be in that same spiral. And when I look at your story, you wanted to get out, but you put the work in and you got out of there and you've built on it. And I thought it's one of the coolest things in the world that I saw that quote show up there. And I wanted to personally thank you for that too, because sometimes I think I'm just yelling into an echo chamber sometimes. I was sitting at a dining room table in my old apartment because here's me exposing the business. I was not sitting in a studio when I did that. I was literally sitting at a dining room table at an apartment in South Philly, and
raging to the sky,
raging to the sky. Where people are wondering what in the hell is this dude talking about? As the Eagles are on their way to a Super Bowl, what the hell is this guy talking about? And to hear something like that, to the idea that anything I said reached you or reaches anybody, always kind of messes with my head a little bit. Mm-hmm. But to see that there, I personally wanted to thank you for that, because if anything I said helped inspire you, then damn it, I did my job. And I just think that's really cool. So that's the other thing, is when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, she actually did use it. Like that kind of thing.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't tell you that I was using it and then not keep my word on that. But no, your quote is one of the leadoff quotes for the chapter. Girls, you have to be quiet or I'm going to tell Daddy. You have to be quiet. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Need to apologize. They're awesome.
Can't believe I just said I'm going to tell your dad. I need him to feed them. That's what I really need. So that way they'll really be quiet when they finally have food in their holes. Anyway, your quote leads off chapter 6, which is called Expect Nothing. And it was a chapter that arose out of anger. I actually had to be in the right mindset to work on it because it was the angriest chapter of the entire book. It talks about roadblocks I came up against through work and those feelings of underappreciation and undervalued and overwhelmed and overworked and all of those things coming to a head to the point that you just feel so stuck and like nothing's going to change. And nothing is going to change unless you do something about it. What I ended up getting into this funk with was expecting anybody else to help me with my situation. You cannot expect people to help you. You cannot hope for things to get better. That's not a strategy.
Exactly.
So that's why that quote resonated so much with me. And it's right next to, despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. Smashing Pumpkins song. Because it's you can go on being pissed about everything and frustrated with everything at work. But unless you decide to stand up and do something about it, nothing's going to change. You have to work for it. Nothing's going to get handed to you. That sounds pessimistically harsh, but it's the truth. If you don't put some hard time and work into making things happen for yourself, it's never going to freaking happen. So that's why that line spoke so much to me. I'd already written a good chunk of that chapter, and then somehow we were talking about it in a conversation. I'm like, that's really good. Like that really works. Like, I think I'm gonna steal that. When we were like on the phone one day, I'm like, hey, what was that line you mentioned that one time?
it was, of all things, it was hope is not a goddamn strategy, and it's not, and it's something that I've tried to operate under for a lot of things. You just said something there. It's like you can't just simply sit around and wait for someone else to do it. Sometimes you got to go out and get it done yourself.
Yeah,
you got to
a lot of times.
Got to do this yourself, and it's not. And yes, again, having hope is a really positive thing. And yes, I want to be able to do this. And one day down the line, I hope this gets done and this, that, and the third. But occasionally you got to just get up off your ass and go do it. And when you get up and go do it, you've put that hope to work. You've made it start to build into something. At a certain point, you get frustrated enough. It's like, all right, I want to do this. F it. I'm about to do it my way, which is what you did.
Yeah. So it's like dreaming is one thing, but goals are a totally different thing because it implies you're going to put in some work to get there. It's like you can't expect to win the lottery to hit it rich. If you want to actually hit it rich, you're going to have to do something about that. You can't just buy a lottery ticket and hope. So yeah, that line really resonates with me, and it was like I go back and read that chapter now, and I still get furious reading some of the stories that I talk about in that one. But it's such a crucial piece to the choices that I've made and the path that I was able to end up on. If I kept sitting there waiting for my boss to help fix the situation or waiting for, like anything else to happen, it was never going to happen. I had to do it myself. And once I realized that, it was so much easier to find the motivation to put in the work to get it done. That's such an important key piece of making yourself happy. You have to do the work.